All right, welcome to an episode of Stoop Stories, and it's been a while since we've been here. It's been since October of 2023, Nathan let us know. So we want to address where the heck we've been and what we've been doing ever since. We've ultimately just been working, building a great company with great people. There's so many awesome people in this organization, and we have a goal this year to eclipse $350 million in revenue. And that's an ambitious goal. So we've been working hard at doing those things, which has created the absence. But what inspired us to get in front of you today has been people have been talking and asking, where have we been? Where's Stoop Stories? What's going on? We hear you, and we want to make sure that we share. So we're committing to 4 episodes per year, 1 per quarter in Q1, 2, 3, and 4. And the value add truly is getting inside of the mind of a CEO who actually started in the trucks 20 years ago. Just talking to Josh about this. How much were you making at that time?
$9 an hour.
$9 an hour is where he started, and now he's a CEO of Southwind, and we're projected to do over $350 million this year. We can connect with the CEO, learn how he's thinking about business, what the greatest opportunities for us to capture, and if you're a Frontline teammate listening to this, to give you hope and belief that you can do this too, because you can. So we're gonna give you the map to learn exactly how. And the title of this podcast is Stoop Stories. In everyone's life, there's a moment where you're at an inflection point, which we call the stoop. And you're going to make a decision to do this or to do that. And when you're on the stoop making that decision, whatever you choose impacts the trajectory of your life moving forward. And we want to make sure that we learn how to recognize those moments in our lives, which show up frequently, and how to make the right decision in those times. So when you are on the stoop, we want to encourage you to use it as a step so that you can elevate past that hardship instead of make the wrong choice and go even further into the dungeon, as we call it here. So thanks for tuning in with us. We appreciate your patience and waiting. Josh, anything to add there?
Yeah, well done, man. And we miss doing the show. We like doing this podcast. I think we've gotten a ton of feedback from various people through the community and all over the country that have, they've said, hey, look, when's the next Stoop Story? So every time it's like a gut punch because it's always something that we like doing, but something we need to be more intentional in making time so we can share, insights to help people continue to move forward, become better leaders, choose the right thing when they're on that stoop, having the inflection point, choose the thing that elevates their life and moves them closer to their goals and dreams.
Yeah. All right, so I have 2 questions for you. Today we're going to talk about being frontline obsessed. And no matter where you are, be it a frontline teammate, a C-suiter in the organization, and anywhere on the in-between, heck, maybe Nathan's role. Josh, think back to, early days. You're making $9 an hour. You're going to college and working to make ends meet. What was that stoop moment where you were at an inflection point to make a decision to do this or do something else? And then I want to talk about frontline obsession. How did you learn the approach you take? What does it mean to you? So let's start with, your inflection point. When you were on the stoop working for $9 an hour in college, figuring out what am I going to do with my life? You decided to do this. You made the right choice, clearly.
Yeah.
What were you deciding between?
Well, I think first thing was when I was in college doing the job, I didn't think it was going to turn into anything. Like most of the people, I would say a lot of people take this job believing it's going to be a stepping stone to something else. It's a job that they're going to take until they find what they really want to do. And I was no different. I expected that I would come make my hourly wage, work as hard and do as good of a job as I can. But once I was out of school, I was going to do something different. And it wasn't until I had actually done something different, it wasn't until I had actually left school where I had that choice where I was either going to do this or do something different. That was a stoop moment. And for me, it was in 2008, and it was a recession. Right, and things were really hard out there. It wasn't like it is today where we have several jobs, like hundreds or thousands of jobs across the country. It was very small. We only had a couple trucks, and there wasn't a lot of stuff to do. And so, you had to keep yourself busy and add value. And, I think the work was hard, and we were doing most of it with our own hands. And so every day you question whether this is the right decision or not. I was young, 23 years old, when I took over the leadership role here of a company that basically didn't exist. $400,000 in revenue, right? And 3 trucks, I think, at that time when I took over the leadership role. So throughout the years, getting to partner with Tyler and, working alongside of him and, doing the physical labor myself. And I'm sure a lot of people who have done that work have experienced this, where you're in the basement somewhere in some part of town and you just have that thought like, damn, is this really my life? Am I really going to be doing this? Yeah. And that inflection point, a lot of it felt like I was feeling sorry for myself because the work was hard. And I think what I looked at later when I trace the dots back, as I look in the past, there's nobody who has an easy way to success. Success is hard to achieve. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be all kinds of moments like that try to get you to quit, that are extra hard, where you feel like you're never going to get done with the work that you needed to do, or you're going to be out super late, or the customer is not very nice, or, your manager is breathing down your neck, or whatever the situation is that makes you have this feeling like, damn, is this worth it? And fortunately for me, I was able to have that moment in 2008, riding in an elevator up with some business professionals. And it was an inflection point of me having to swallow my pride, humble myself down, and recognize that nobody was going to come and give me an opportunity to build the life of my dreams. I was going to have to take that myself. And I was going to have to do the things that were going to be necessary to achieve success. And nobody was going to save me. My mom was not going to call me and let me know that everything had been a joke the whole time. We actually were rich, and she had won the lottery, and she'd just been holding it back for me. That wasn't going to happen. It was going to happen because I was going to make it happen. And so grateful to have that experience because it changed my life. And like we hope it'll change somebody who's listening today, where they may be at that point right now in their life, working hard, feeling like they're not moving forward, feeling like they're being underpaid or undervalued, and that they should just quit, and then they make the decision to lean in and stay, but actually stay with a different set of a different level of mentality and a different level of intention that lets you create something out of nothing. Yeah. Because that's what's available for people. Like we're in this space where we don't have what we want, and we have to create something out of nothing. Mm-hmm. And people can do it. It just takes intention and a lot of hard work.
Awesome. Well said. So, let's talk about Frontline obsession.
Yeah.
How do you define it? There are a couple things that I think about that you and Tyler have done that just scream out Frontline obsession from you all seats. Yeah. And I'm curious as to how did you all make that decision to do it? But I'll start with you defining it, and then I'll ask some follow-up questions.
Well, I never want us to be a company where Tyler and I are over here patting ourselves on the back about how great we are. I think that's not in the spirit of which we like to operate. And so when we talk about Frontline obsession, it has nothing to do with, what we've done. It has everything to do with what we believe everyone else should do, because of what we've experienced by doing it and the benefit that our people have felt and the organization has seen, okay? So I just want to make sure we at level set that, this isn't a Josh and Tyler back patting fest. But what I tell you about, being obsessed with the front line, it's about, creating a connection and a commitment to treating people like you'd like to be treated. And recognize that everybody's coming in, and wherever they are is okay. And it's actually our job and our responsibility to help them achieve their goals, which is why you often hear us say, hey, have you done your intentional path? And that's all about setting goals, because it's impossible for us to help you achieve goals that you've never set for yourself. That's just a foundational component to being Frontline obsessed, right? Encouraging your people to think of their life differently, to visualize what they want out of their life so we can help them achieve it. So I think about that a lot. I also think about moments. And, it's not all the time, but sometimes you need help. Our people, and people in general, man, they need help. And it's an orientation to serve that I think you have to have in order to be obsessed from a frontline perspective and achieve that success. This orientation that, like, hey, I serve the people. That's my job. Like, yeah, my title is CEO, but it's in service of the team, the people that we work with every single day. And so you'll see how we behave. It's in that orientation of service. Open door policy. Let's sit down and talk. Looking for bad body language so we can approach the teammate and have a real conversation about what's going on. All right, like, it's having that orientation in everything that you do. Everybody does. We ask people to do one-on-ones. We ask people to do team meetings. Now, you could do that team meeting and you can do that one-on-one and just check the box, or you can do it with an orientation to serve. And when you choose that path, that service path, that opens up different possibilities. It unlocks people's potential, and I think that's the opportunity that most people never get the chance to participate in because they don't have that service orientation. We live in a tough world where people are always thinking about what you can do for me. We live in a tough world where people are thinking about what's in it for me. We live in a tough world where people are, looking for angles to elevate themselves over somebody or keep other people down. All right? But I think the world that we need to try to live in is the one where we're trying to look for opportunities to serve. Watching that teammate who's walking to school and pulling over and helping him get to work. Nick Bobeck, for years has driven teammates to work because they've struggled to get there. That's an orientation to serve. Is that in his job requirements? No, it's not. Or in his responsibility. But he takes the time to serve those people. It's, you who has people pop by their door and you have an open door policy and you come in and have real conversations with frontline teammates who are having a tough time. When you're out in the field, you're not looking for the most buttoned up person to shake hands with. You're scanning the entire crowd and you're identifying talented people who may need a little bit of help. That's an orientation to serve. All right. And I think that that's just like the foundational principles of being frontline obsessed. Look at every aspect of the job your people are doing. Okay. Identify if those things that we're asking them to do helps make the company better, improves the life of the people. And if they do, like, you're probably going to have a lot of success. I think when you get the frontline part right, you win basically automatically. All right, and so sure, we're in business. This is a business at the end of the day. It's for profit, not non-profit. But it doesn't mean we can't do good things and help people move forward. It's this symbiotic relationship of LaDrew gets coaching and feedback, and he grows and develops. And because he grows and develops, he helps other people grow and develop. And because they grew and develop, they help the company grow and develop. It's symbiotic, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, you actually don't have any. The questions you answered them with your definition. Treat others like you would like to be treated. Something that could be challenging for someone to understand before you said that would be, why are you and Tyler so adamant to have our office connect the front line and the people who work in the office every day? You guys are relentless, and it's because if you were on the front line today, that's what you would want done for you. Yeah. We were at that meeting with the town hall with the city where people asked, what do you want the front line to rub shoulders with the big wigs? And they didn't know they were talking to a big wig that used to be a frontline teammate that made $9 an hour. They thought that you were always a CEO, or maybe the son of one that awarded you this position that you're in today, when it's couldn't be further from the truth. So, and I will acknowledge, you all won't see Tyler here. Nathan, can you maybe put Tyler right there? Anytime you hear Josh speak, he's speaking on behalf of him and Tyler. Tyler just prefers to be in his office crunching some numbers, finding the next opportunity for the people of this great organization to step into.
Yeah, let me say something real quick, because you said it simple. Treat other people like you'd want to be treated, right? Simple concept, hard to execute, though, right? Because I think we're on this call. Well, this isn't a call. We're on this podcast here, and, you know, people are probably thinking to themselves, well, yeah, I already do that. And we get this a lot, right? Where we make a comment or a statement about something that we see as an actual gap in the system, and we hear our leaders say, well, yeah, I do that already. But then we talk to their people, and their people don't do it, right? And it's pretty clear to see that there's this challenge, and I love to talk about this challenge that happens, which is perception versus reality. Because I think being frontline obsessed is as much about living in reality as it is anything. And living in reality, to me, in this case, is about being shoulder to shoulder with your people, so much so that they give you the real feedback that you need to hear.
Yeah.
All right? Because we're talking about some stuff that's feels pretty elementary, but in practice is actually incredibly hard to execute. We have teammates leave our organization pissed regularly. All right? We have call centers or sales centers that are, you know, where you would ask the leaders, hey, how's it going in there? And they would say things like, awesome, we're freaking crushing it, you know, whatever it is. And then you talk to the people and they're struggling. They don't feel connected. They don't feel like someone's looking out for their best interest. And I think about that a lot. And I think about it from the perspective that if you're not advocating for your people, you're probably not in service of them. Okay? So teammate advocacy. Like, what have you asked on behalf of your team, okay, that helps them improve that experience? Is it that you need new TVs, or you want new whiteboards, or you want to renegotiate their pay because you believe that they deserve more? Okay? So if you're not advocating for them, you're probably not obsessed with them. Does that make sense for you?
That makes perfect sense. I would add, so number 2, teammate advocacy is huge. And I would say seeing life through their lens would be number 2.
Yeah.
You know, if you treat others the way you would want to be treated, you would see life through their lens. So I'll give you an example. I mean, heck, you just gave me feedback before we walked into this podcast. It was pretty heavy. Thank you. And I'm working to get better. Derek Sobek did right before that. And you know Derek Sobek, right?
Yep.
And you've known us to have some dust ups.
You guys love each other very much.
We actually do. And he actually came into my office and he approached the conversation because he was going to let me know some things that he knew would hurt my feelings. Because it was about me and how I'm showing up and how he believes I want to show up for others and how I'm not actually doing that, or the perception isn't there based on what he's experiencing. But he approached it from my perspective. And he spoke calmly as he rolled it out, and he was even trying to be delicate. I said, hey man, just lay it on me. You know, seeing life through the lens of your people is all important. He did that and delivered feedback to me that would have resulted in a dust up in the past between our relationship. But he saw it from my lens, shared that. So are you shoulder to shoulder with your people? If you work in finance, are you sitting in their area with them, understanding the work that they do and the challenges they're experiencing, living and seeing life from their lens, so that when you're having those conversations, you really get it.
Yeah.
So that would be the other, seeing life through the lens of your people. That way, it's easy to consider them when making decisions or advocate for them, because you know they don't have what they need to achieve their goals, or they don't have the tools to achieve success in their role. We should be advocating for those things.
2 things stick out to me when you say that. Empathy is one of them. Being empathetic, understanding that people are going through stuff, and it's our responsibility to understand what they're going through and to help them through it. Okay? So that's the first thing I'm thinking about there. And the second thing I'm thinking about is like the relationship, like seeing the world through other people's lens helps build relationship. And that relationship, that connection, is vital for success of the organization. Because there's going to be uncomfortable stuff that happens. And it's going to get hard, but if you're not connected to the mission, it's easy to quit. If you're not connected to the leader, it's easy to quit. When you're thinking about being empathetic, right, like really understanding someone at their, where they are today and seeking to do that, being curious about that, man, that's a massive benefit. Because if you ask somebody about themselves, I've found that they'll tell you. And when you learn about them, you learn about them, you know how to work with them more effectively when they've been vulnerable and you've had that level of conversation. Brene Brown says that vulnerability is a currency of connection, right? So it's also going to take them being empathetic, which creates vulnerability for you to connect, and then you in return need to be vulnerable, which will create connection between the two of you. Table stakes, we do hard shit here. Like, we almost doubled the revenue last year. That's not easy to do. That means we asked a lot of people to do stuff that was probably pretty uncomfortable. All right? And if there's no connection there, it's unlikely that they make the transition from where we are to where we're going.
Yeah, so we gave 2 strategies, advocating for your people, seeing life through their lens. Let's talk about what could help a leader mind shift to actually believe this so that they do it. Because right now, we're struggling. We're not doing it well. Frontline obsession, that is. So what can we say today to inspire someone to care more about their people?
Yeah, so I think that feedback is so important. And there's 3 times, there's 2 official times, and then there's every month where we seek feedback. 2 official times, we do it through engagement surveys. All right, and then monthly through town hall. This is an opportunity for us to get feedback so we can do something about how people are feeling, because we recognize we don't know everything. Here's the truth. Getting feedback about how you're leading is really, really hard. All right, because nobody's out there trying not to do a good job. Everybody's doing it to the best of their ability. I do believe that at that time, based on the information they have available to them. As the information changes, the ability to do something different also changes because you become aware of it. And so what happens is people get feedback. This is the negative thing that can happen. People receive that feedback and it comes in and their ego flares up and they get pissed and they sit there, it's anonymous, and they think, who said that? It was Nathan. I know who it was. It was Nathan. Now, it's anonymous and it might not have been Nathan. But instead of saying, wow, I'm really grateful that I got this feedback, I need to approach the team immediately so we can talk about this and I can create a vulnerable, transparent opportunity for us to share. Like that's the difference between like a leader who's got a service orientation versus just a manager. Right? A manager just gets the feedback and files it away and keeps doing what they're doing and checks the next box. A leader receives that feedback, has that orientation to serve, and they run to the problem. They want to have the conversation. They can't sleep until they've talked to the entire team about how they feel, right? And so I think that that's really important. Like, you have to create the mechanisms to receive feedback, but you actually have to want the feedback. And that feedback that you get is not anybody's fault. That's someone's perception, which we believe is their reality. So you can't be pissed about it. It's just what it is. We can either choose to embrace it and create change that improves the experience, or fight it and try to convince somebody that that's not true and that's not how they feel, or ignore it.
Okay, so let's say that you were a department head, a VP or AD, or a general manager. How would you go about soliciting feedback to understand if you're showing up in a way that says, I'm frontline obsessed?
Well, at Southwind, I'd partner with the HR team, and I'd have them conduct a survey on my behalf. And I'd have them get an anonymous survey in front of my teammates, and then I'd want to know all the information. And I would partner with them to ask the specific questions, and I'd ask the heavy-hitting ones. Do I feel like I'm compensated fairly for the work that I do? Right? Because if someone doesn't feel like they're being compensated fairly for the work they do, are they going to do it well, you think?
Hell no.
Okay, so I want to know that. All right. Does my leader have favoritism or act in a manner that lacks integrity. Okay?
Heavy hitting ones.
I want to know the truth, right? Because if I live in reality, I become aware to all the information, and I can create meaningful change. All right, another question would be, do I feel like I'll be here at this organization in the next 12 months? And if not, why not?
Great questions. Okay, so we know what to do now. Tell us this before we get out of here today, and thank you for your thoughts. We've grown a lot since the last podcast. What has been the catalyst of that growth?
Grit and determination. It has not been pretty. We've acquired 25 locations in the last 12 months. And since the last podcast, it's probably 30. And it's not been perfect. It's not been pretty. We've had tons of issues and challenges along the way. Nobody grows that fast without experiencing just a ton of adversity. And I think our ability to have grit and determination in the face of adversity is the single greatest catalyst to growth. Because where most people would say, we should slow down so it doesn't feel so painful, we remove the pain, we focus on the vision, the mission, and we work towards that instead. Simple, like leadership development. Last year, it was 500 people in leadership development. It was 1,000 people in leadership development this year, right? That creates obstacles because not everybody wants to participate. We're going to have to encourage people because we know it's great for them to have a place that they can go where they can learn and create a new life for themselves, right? Through the information that they're getting. Now, that's not easy to do, right? Grit and determination allows us to say, hey, we're going to do it. It doesn't really matter the cost or the sacrifice, right? Not the monetary cost, but the cost of our time, our energy, and our effort, and any resources. So I think about that.
Awesome. All right. Well, any quick shout outs for anyone who you've recognized really exhibiting our principle of being frontline obsessed really well?
I think Brandon Phillips comes to mind as someone who is exceptional at this. His commercial salespeople are the front line. They talk and touch our customers regularly. And they are inspired, motivated, and they drive performance. And they do it with a smile on their face. And they've created a community in there, right? I think he's done a tremendous job. Is there anybody that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, I think Jake Popelka right now, what he's doing with Shack Shine, popped in it here on a Saturday, and he's in it and loving every moment of it, working with the people. He's doing incredible. JD Wood.
Yeah, JD Wood. Yep.
You talk about a team that loves their leader. Man, they love JD. Aaron Arnold is someone who sticks out to me. Yeah. He's seeking that tough feedback from his people, and he's doing something about what he hears. Just to name a few.
Yeah, there's
Brody Green. He's running to the feedback, running to the opportunities because he cares about the people.
I think that there's a lot of great leaders in this business, and I think we have to continue to focus ourselves on things that matter. And when we talk about frontline obsession, or we talk about the core four, like those are focusing mechanisms that help us zero in on the things that matter that create all the difference. And so over the last year and a half, man, we haven't talked a lot about it, right? It's been in the Southwind Way document, and it's been something that we've considered, but not something we've covered. Yeah. We always think of ourselves as someone who is frontline obsessed, which is why we wrote it in there. It wasn't until recently we decided we really need to revisit this because of the feedback we were receiving, right? So I think, those are some great leaders. I think some other people have the potential and capabilities and the authority to do it, to be frontline obsessed. We just need to focus them so they can do that.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping to do today.
Yeah. That is the opportunity in HR. We're going to lean on you so that we can learn more about how we're showing up so that we can show up better for our people. So, welcome back. Stoop Stories is back. Nathan's going to hold us accountable 4 episodes a year. This was number 1 of 2025. We appreciate you. Get off the stoop.
Stoop Stories.